Today, I'm going to be discussing with you how to be successful at anything. Before I begin, here is an outline and what you can expect from today's episode. The first part of the show will center around why success is important in our lives and why is it necessary for happiness. In the second part of the show, I'm going to tell you about my 10 favorite quotes from some of the most influential people in the world and discuss each one of them with you one by one. I think there will be a lot of takeaways and aha moments during this portion of the show. You're going to absolutely love it. And finally, my personal secret sauce for obtaining success in any part of life and what has helped me throughout the years. This will be my takeaway, and this will be my take on how I've achieved success, sometimes by chance and other times unknowingly. Now, first of all, this is what success is to me, just in case you're curious. To me, well, success is a combination of many important parts of my life, not just necessarily business. Most people believe that in order to be successful, you need to be rich and you need to be famous, or maybe both. Well, there's nothing worse than a rich man without anyone to share it with, and there's nothing worse than a rich man who is not happy with himself, his family, or his situation. Now, to me, success comes from all walks of life. To me, success is having a great, supportive family. I also believe that a successful person, is very successful in business and in finance. They have their health in order. They're feeling great. They're not on 15 different medications just to stay alive. And they have great, fulfilling relationships with their friends, with their family, and with their girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife. I think, to me, that is success. And another part of success is thinking with the end in mind. What am I doing today and how will it affect me tomorrow? That is success to me. Before I discuss with you my 10 favorite quotes and talk to you about how to become successful, first, why do we want to become successful? Now, first of all, success is a part of life. This brings us positive feelings and emotions. It's something that is necessary. It's an important ingredient to being alive. We all need to feel successful. Now, success is fulfilling and there's a sense of accomplishment. There is also an element of feeling significant. Now, significance is extremely important because, look around you, look on Facebook, everybody's posting something, including myself. We're all posting something. We all want to be recognized by it. We all feel great when people like stuff. And that makes us feel good. We get attention and it makes us feel significant. Now, that's an important ingredient of life. Everyone needs significance, and success brings that for us. And finally, we love the taste of winning because it boosts our ego. While an egocentric personality is not desirable, I think that continued success does provide the benefit of confidence within us, and I believe each one of us needs this in order to live. Now, let's move on and talk about my 10 favorite tips on how to become successful from some of the most thoughtful leaders that have ever lived. Now, the first one is going to be by Michelangelo, and this one is called Think Big. Now, he says, the greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark. I think that is amazing. First of all, most people don't set goals in life. And if they set goals, they would achieve great things and they would aim really high. Most people don't have goals. If they did that, they would have unbelievable results. But the sad part is that most people live in mediocrity. They just live to just get by. They work to go out there and make a living so they can put food on their plate, so they can be happy, so they can buy the doodad and the little gadget here and there and the iPhone and the cell phone here and that makes them happy. That's fulfilling. But if they created goals, if they pushed for big things, I think they would aim really high and they would do a lot better in life. And the other thing is, most people don't believe that they're capable of anything better. I believe that, a lot of these are myths. I think that, you can be successful in any part of life, but you have to think big. Now, number 2 is find what you love to do and do it. And that's by Oprah Winfrey. She says, you are on the road to success if you would do your job and not be paid for it. I love this one. This is my personal favorite because I believe that if you do what you love, the money will come. It's such a sad thing when I see people go to a job that they don't like. that, they have no passion for, and they complain about it. And when they see you, they complain about it. They complain to their coworkers. They complain to their parents. And it just makes them unhappy. Why do they do it? They do it because of money. And if instead they found something they were passionate about and they did that instead, maybe they're going to struggle a little bit in the beginning. But over time, if you do something you're passionate about, you're going to make money out of it. I guarantee you, I'm doing it right now as we speak. I know I'm not going to become a millionaire overnight, but eventually I'm going to be successful in anything I accomplish because I'm doing something that I love. So that was number 2. Find what you love and do it. And number 3 is by Paul Knight. He says, learn to balance life. There is an immutable conflict at work, in life, and in business, a constant battle between peace and chaos. Neither can be mastered, but both can be influenced. How you go about this is the key to success, and that's by Paul Knight. Now, all work and no play, I believe, makes for a dull boy. And in the beginning of success, in the beginning of a business, any business, if you're starting out, you're going to spend 14-hour days, 16-hour days, 18-hour days, heck, 20-hour days. There have been times that I've woken up at 5 in the morning and I got done at 10 o'clock at night. And I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to begin with. And I go to the gym and I do all the stuff that I have to do in the morning, prepare for my day. And I'm up, but by the time I know it, 8 o'clock comes around and sometimes I'm in front of my desk, I'm continuing to work. I know that's not great. I know that's not healthy. But in the beginning of a business, I think it's okay to be this way because you're looking to get this business up and running. You want to be successful. You want to have something to show for it. That's acceptable. But once the business gets going, once you're doing things, I think that you need to develop balance in life. You need time for your friends. You need time with your family. You need leisure time. One thing that I personally do is I go to quarterly retreats 4 times per year. And besides that, on Sundays, I give myself 1 or 2 hours in total silence with a pen and paper. I think and I write, and I figure out my the week before that and see how that went. And I figure out what I'm going to do the following week. So the way it works is I do a weekend little solo thinking session and think about the following week and also the week before that, see how everything is going in terms of progress. Then I do a quarterly retreat, which is every 3 months I go away. I go away by myself if I have to. And sometimes I may bring my girlfriend or a family member or something, but I make sure I spend time alone for at least a day or two. Because this allows me to have brand new ideas. This allows me to create balance not only in my life, but also in my mind. We all need that. So that's Learn How to Balance Life by Paul Knight. And number 4 is do not be afraid of failure. This one is by Henry Ford. And he says, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Heck, you know what? I failed multiple times. And quite frankly, I'm here right now talking to you because I failed. But, do you see me crying? No, not necessarily. I'm here. I'm trying to do things more intelligently this time than I did the last. The last time, I'm sure you already know my story, so I'm going to give you a small little excerpt just in case you're tuning in for the first time. I had a business. I had it for 10 years. Google Panda and Penguin Update totally abolished my websites. And I picked up the pieces and I sold the websites and I decided to create a podcast, and I'm doing a whole lot of other things. And, without me getting fully into it, you can find out more on the website, but, don't be afraid of failure. It's a necessary part of life. In school, we're always taught not to make failures. We're always taught to get good grades. We're always taught to be obedient. In business, in life, that is not realistic. We can't live our lives this way. We make mistakes. We are human, and the only way we learn is through mistakes. Make them. Go for it. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid of it. I guarantee you, if you make mistakes, you're going to learn from it, and you're going to become a much better person as a result. Number 5, have an unwavering resolution to succeed. And this one is by Colonel Sanders. Yep, it's the fried chicken guy. He says, I made a resolve then that I was going to amount to something if I could, and no hours, nor amount of labor, nor amount of money would deter me from giving the best that there was in me. And I have done that ever since, and I win by it. I know. Colonel Sanders. That's awesome. I think that sometimes you must give up everything in order to succeed. You have to give up something to get something. You can't continue to accumulate. I see a lot of people, they accumulate a lot of garbage. What you own ends up owning you. I try to live a very basic lifestyle, and I see a lot of people, they don't live this way. They love to accumulate. We live in a country that promotes this stuff. We live in a country that we see thousands of ads, and it makes us want to buy so much. We have to give up something in order to get something else. And sometimes you have to give up something, to succeed. And sometimes people have 14 different businesses because, they want to spread themselves far and wide, and it doesn't work that way. I made that mistake doing it. For 10 years, I had multiple websites, and I concentrated on all of them. And you know what? I could have done a lot better if I had 1 or 2 websites instead of 10. And that was my biggest mistake. Now I'm starting all over. I have one thing. I'm going to concentrate on it until it becomes the best. And then I'm going to concentrate on it until it gets to the next level. For me, that's what I want, and your mindset counts as well. The psychology and the self-talk, the psychology of success and the self-talk, that's very, very important. How you say things to yourself, how you talk with other people about your success, about your failures, it says a lot about you. And if you tell somebody I'm successful even though you're not, chances are you're going to become successful one day. But if you tell somebody that you're not doing too well, it's only going to bring you down. And I think that self-talk and affirmations and these type of things are extremely, extremely, extremely important. Now, number 6, be a man of action. And this one is by Leonardo da Vinci. And he says, "It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things." Wow. I believe that if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Why? Because a busy person will get it done over someone who is just sitting there idle. I think that's very, very important. When you're inactive, this creates a lot of doubt in your mind. However, action breeds confidence and courage. I think that a man who is a man of action, who says what he's going to do, he's not only seen as someone who has courage, but he also gets things done. And I think being a man of action is very, very important. Now, number 7 is by Theodore Roosevelt, and he says, avoid conflict. The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with other people. I think this is awesome. And in today's society, we have Facebook and we have all these public forums and text messaging. There's a lot of keyboard jockeying going on, and there's so much conflict. And we have TV and all this banter. And the other day I was watching American Idol, and you got this girl. Her name is Nicki Minaj, and she's fighting with everybody, including some of the contestants. And this is what our children are watching these days. It's disgusting. And I think that as a society, you know what? I don't even know what's happening, but I think it's gross and I think it's disgusting. I have some friends on public forums and on Facebook who thrive on this kind of stuff. Their days are spent being keyboard jockeys, sparring with words and sarcastic banter. Sometimes, as a result, it creates a lot of tension as a result of the friction, and it causes conflicts. And I try to avoid it at all times. Successful people not only spend time with positive people. After all, we become the average of the 5 or 6 people we spend our time with. And I think that avoiding conflict and finding people who don't like conflict and spending more time with them, I think that's a great recipe for success. Now, number 8 is don't be afraid of introducing new ideas. This one is by Mark Twain, and he says, the person with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. And I personally believe that some people have tunnel vision. It stops them from accepting a new perspective. We're all human, and we all need to refresh our brains. So I do weekly reviews, like I said, and I also do quarterly reviews, and finally a yearly review. So that when I do that, it brings new ideas into my mind. When I do that, I get all these different things, and sometimes I'm even surprised by it, because sometimes I say to myself, how come I didn't think of this before? Well, it's because I'm in a different place. I'm not in a place where I'm familiar with. I'm not sitting in my home office. I'm not sitting in my neighborhood. I'm not at a public bench in my favorite park because I've been there 10 times already. I'm in a completely different place. And when I go to completely different places, I get completely different, fresh ideas. It's something that I can't explain. It's something that I don't know. I don't know the science behind, but it's real and it's amazing. You have to give it a try for yourself. So the next thing is, I also try to go to at least 3 or 4 seminars per year to meet new people in my field who I can learn from. This process brings me a lot of clarity as well, and a lot of ideas. And when I speak to new people, I get new ideas because I learn a lot of things from them. So that's Don't Be Afraid of Introducing New Ideas by Mark Twain. Now, number 9, last but not least, is believe in your capacity to succeed. Now, that is by Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. Now, most people don't succeed because they don't have the confidence. And a great way to build confidence is by doing something you're afraid of and surviving it. That is how you build confidence, and that is how you succeed. If you don't have confidence, if you don't know, if you're not sure if you can do it, it's because you haven't tried enough and you haven't failed enough. Failure is not a bad thing. I suggest that you give it a try. Thomas Edison said that I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 Hold on. How does he say it? He says that I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 times, 10,000 ways that have not worked when he was building the light bulb. So, that's Thomas Edison. You got to give it a try. It might not work for you the first time, the 10th time, but it'll eventually work. And if you can survive it, it's definitely going to work out for you. I guarantee you. Give it a try. And number 10 is by Steve Jobs. Wow, this quote, it stirs up a lot of emotion inside of me. He says, "Be brave enough to follow your intuition." He says, "Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is the living result of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." It is very, very true. Oh my God. I love this quote. And the reason why I saved this for last is because it's probably one of my favorites. And for me, this one is especially important because when I was younger, I didn't know I can do it. And I was always told that business is going to be difficult. And I think that's the problem with many people. They listen to people too much. They don't follow their intuition. And when they talk about their business, especially if it's brand new, they talk to people and people are going to bring them down. No, it's difficult. You can't do that. It's going to be too much money. It's going to take too much time. You're going to take risks. You're going to lose everything. Yeah. And so what? So what? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall down, but you're going to get back up. And I think that everyone needs to follow their intuition. Everyone has a gut feeling. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to listening to your gut feelings when you're doing things like investments and things like that, because, that requires a sophisticated decision. But sometimes, we need to listen to our guts in order to get things done, in order to become successful. And I think Steve Jobs nailed it. I love that quote. Be brave enough to follow your intuition. Now, those are the 10 quotes. I absolutely love them. I hope you got some takeaways and aha moments from those. I do want to share with you some of my own personal secrets. Now, my first one is get comfortable at being uncomfortable. I think this one is amazing because a lot of people are comfortable with life. You have to become uncomfortable in order to grow. Get out of your parents' house. Leave. If you're 25 years old, if you're 30 years old and you still live at your parents' house, it's time for you to leave. They want you there forever because you are their only son or daughter who's still living there. It's time for you to leave. Or maybe you're there. Maybe everyone's living at home because everyone's comfortable. They have their 4 square meals. Their laundry is being taken care of. And you know what? That's living a mediocre life because you're not pushing yourself. Imagine you were on the street. Imagine that you had $5 in your pocket and you knew that was going to be your last meal for today and you need to survive for tomorrow, what would you do? You would do everything possible to become successful for tomorrow. Now, that is the situation we're facing today. A lot of people are comfortable. We need to become a little bit uncomfortable. Pain is a great teacher. Don't become your parents, your boss, your best friend, or anyone else. Find your place in this world. Be like water, powerful, gentle, adaptable, ever-changing. You need to change. You can't be like your parents. You can't be like your boss. You can't be like your best friend or anyone else. Be yourself. Find your own place in this world. Now, I do want to talk about some of the traits of successful people. I think the quotes that I had mentioned, they should ring a bell or two, and they should tell you what some of the successful traits are. But to make it more obvious, some of the successful traits of very successful people are they easily adapt to their environment, as I mentioned before. They're goal-oriented. They have goals. Successful people have goals. If you don't have goals, today is the day to create them. After this podcast, it's time for you to get up with a pen and paper and start creating goals. It's very simple. Today, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to complete it by 4 p.m. That is a goal. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. Another goal could be by September 30th, 2013, I'm going to accumulate $10,000 in my savings account. And you just created a goal. This goal has a time limit. This goal is specific. And now you have a goal. Now you can do this with anything in life. You can do this with your health. You can do this with money. You can do this with relationships. You can do this with anything. You have to be goal-oriented. Now, the other thing is that successful people are avid learners. They're constantly learning. They're constantly relearning. It is extremely important for people for successful people to always learn. Now, the other thing is that you need to eat healthy and exercise regularly. That's another thing that successful people do, and they are mentally positive. They're consistent, and they're also very persistent and don't believe in failure. These are the traits of successful people, and I hope you got something out of that. Now you know what to do, and now we finally arrived towards the end of the show, and I think it's time for you to define what success means for you. Now that you've learned all the stuff, now that you heard what I had to say, now it's time for you to do some homework on your own. You need to ask yourself some pressing questions besides what's on my website that I'm going to point out in the show notes. What kind of quality of life do you want for yourself? That's one of them. How much do you want to earn in your life, or currently, how much do you want to earn? What makes you happy? What makes you tick? What type of relationships do you want in your life? And what type of relationships do you want to remove from your life? Because sometimes we need to remove people from our lives in order to become successful, because sometimes people hold us back. Now, these and a bunch of other pressing questions, are going to be in the show notes, as I mentioned, and I'm going to point out a blog post that I wrote a few weeks ago that you can go and do some soul searching with. Now, yes, I am going to give you guys homework. You have to do this. Anyways, woohoo! This is the end of the show. I finally made it, and you guys did too. Congratulations.